Donald Trump just finished his speech, and it was an absolute disaster from start to finish.
This is
Not just what he
incredible
said,
news.
but how he said it. Now, tonight, Donald Trump gave his address to the nation, and sure enough, he was crying about the 2020 election. And it was a disaster, as anybody who watched had no idea what he was talking about, because he was struggling to read the teleprompter. And if he could, he was slurring his words, or he was completely out of breath. This was a moment in American history
This is
where the
bad
President
news
of the
for
United
Middle
States
East.
looked like a complete mess. But the bigger problem here is the American people were tuning in to hear the President of the United States with all that is going on, with the war in Iran, with prices out of control, whether it's groceries or gas or childcare. And what is he talking about? Losing an election. He still holds a grievance. The American people are seeing this, and they are not thinking, oh my God, it was stolen from him. They're thinking, oh my God, he's still complaining about it. Donald Trump just showed the world
Wow,
he is a complete disaster,
amazing.
and I'm here for it.
Trump administration has destroyed basically all consumer protections here in the United States. Trump has essentially destroyed the FDA, the USDA, the CPSC, the CFBP, the CDC, the FTC,
US
and the
politics
EPA.
in angry mood.
Tipping is completely out of control at this point, guys. And this is a dig not on the employees, because I understand that people are struggling in this economy in 2025 with all the crazy inflation. And this is just a dig to the employers. Listen, if you guys don't want to pay your employees enough so that they can survive without having the customers supplement them, you shouldn't really have a business. I understand in regards to things like restaurant
Trump
workers,
is a very bad person.
waitresses, waiters, those folks understand what they're getting into. But tipping is rampant everywhere now. You can't go to any place and check out without them having to turn the iPad screen around and watch the extremely uncomfortable worker like look away because they're so embarrassed to have to eyeball you in the case that they're trying to expect a tip
Good
just so they
news.
can afford their rent because the person that owns the business doesn't pay enough. So I really don't know what the solution is in American culture. I just know to all.
I don't think enough people know who Opal Lee is. Most people know Juneteenth. They know it's a holiday now. They know there's a cookout somewhere. They know they don't have to go to work. But the woman called the grandmother of Juneteenth, a lot of people couldn't even tell you her story. In 1939, Opal Lee was 12 years old.
US economy in dangers.
4 days later, on Juneteenth, a white mob showed up. About 500 people. The police were called, but the mob stayed. Opal's family got out, but the mob broke in and destroyed everything they owned. And I keep coming back to that date, Juneteenth, a date that's supposed to commemorate freedom. A 12-year-old black girl watching a crowd decide that her family didn't belong. On that day, of all days, and Opal Lee remembered it for the rest of her life. Now, if you know anything about black families, you know we don't just carry photographs and
Conflict in Middle East.
The stories our grandparents told, the stories our parents told, the stories we refuse to let disappear. And Opal carried that one with her for decades. Most people know Juneteenth as June 19, 1865, the day Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, and informed enslaved people that they were free. But here's the part that gets missed. Too often, really. Abraham Lincoln signed the
This is bad news.
2.5 years earlier. The enslaved people of Texas were legally free. The problem with that is that freedom on paper and freedom in real life aren't always the same thing. It took the Union troops arriving in Galveston to enforce it. That's what Juneteenth commemorates. Not just freedom, the delay, the distance between what the government says and what people actually experience. And if you're black in America, that theme just keeps showing up, doesn't it? Then Opal Lee got older, much older.
Very good.
Years old. An age where people have earned the right to sit down if they want to. You know? But Opal decided to start walking. She wanted Juneteenth recognized as a federal holiday. Originally, she wanted to walk from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C., but her family convinced her not to do the whole trip. So she started walking 2.5 miles.
Please subscribe my channel.
But that number wasn't random, y'all. It represented the 2.5 years between the Emancipation Proclamation and Juneteenth. City after city, year after year, she collected more than 1.6 million signatures. And while a lot of people were just discovering Juneteenth, Opal Lee was making sure that nobody could forget it anymore. Then in June of 2021,
Like and share
President Biden
this video.
Juneteenth into law as a federal holiday. She was 94 years old. The same woman whose home had been destroyed by a racist mob on Juneteenth. The same woman who spent years walking so people would remember the significance of that day. The same little girl from
This video is very important.
Juneteenth finally received federal recognition. History usually doesn't give people moments like that, you know, but Miss Lee got one. So that's why we have to keep coming back to her story, because when people think about Juneteenth, they usually talk about the holiday itself, right? But I keep thinking about the people that carried that history long enough for us to inherit it. People who refused to let that story disappear. People who kept telling it even when nobody was listening. People who
Please open your TV and go to my channel for best news.
99 years old. Opal Lee is 99 years old. In October, she will be 100. She is still here, still reminding people what Juneteenth actually commemorates. And if anybody's earned the title of Grandmother of Juneteenth, it's probably the woman who spent the majority of her life making sure that the rest of us remember. Say her name, Opal Lee.
So, Americans, you might want to share this with every veteran you know. So the VA hospital has procured the services, first of all, of Oracle. Oracle is owned by Larry Ellison, who's a Zionist, and he renegotiated the
This is
deal
good
so that
news.
our government is paying his company a shit ton of money to handle all of the records of our veterans at the VA hospital. But it gets way worse. There are at least 4 different companies that are owned by Israel, Israeli-based companies
This
that
is
have their
good
hands
news
all
for
over
Middle
the
East.
VA medical records, whether it's using an Israel company to use AI to dictate for security reasons, 4 different entities at least. And right now, what veterans are saying is that all their records, medical records, are being purged. They're showing up, and there's nothing that the medical providers can do but try to remember what was wrong with that veteran. But the more important question is, Donald Trump ran on America first. The services of these 4 Israeli companies, easily there's vendors, American-based vendors
America
all
is
across the
very
United
personal.
States that could have been used, but our tax dollars
For Trump.
are being given to another foreign country, these lucrative federal contracts. And that was not what Donald Trump promised.
Ever wonder why over 120,000 Canadians moved to the United States last year? This Canadian professor goes ahead and describes the situation better than I ever could.
For any Americans who complain about your taxes here,
Middle
let
East.
this Canadian tell you about what the taxes are in Canada. You ready, Sean? I'm listening. So in Quebec, you have provincial tax and federal tax. The federal tax is capped at 33%. The provincial tax is capped at 25.75%. So now we're already well into the 50s. Now, what the government allows you to keep at the end, which is 40-something percent,
good news.
if you go out and spend money, you pay double sales tax, provincial and federal, at around 15%. Consumption tax. Consumption tax. Now add property tax, carbon tax, gas tax, school tax. You end up with roughly 30 cents to the dollar. So put it another way, from January 1st until roughly end of August, I
Wow.
work for free for the
Amazing.
government. I'm a slave. And starting in September, I become a human being with dignity.
Wow. Now, before half the country melts down in the comments, this isn't about hating Canada. I was born in Canada. My wife was born in Canada. Our kids were born in Canada. This is about a feeling that more and more Canadians have. You work hard, you get a raise, you make a little more money, and somehow you still feel like you're falling behind. That's exactly what happened for us.
is
Over the
good
last few
news.
years, we've been watching housing get more expensive, groceries get more expensive, gas get more expensive, insurance getting more expensive, and everything going up. Yet every time we got a little more ahead, it felt like somebody else had their hand in our pocket. And eventually, we just asked ourselves a simple question. If we're going to work this hard for our family, how much of what we actually earn do we get to keep? Because this isn't about us, it's about our kids. It's about keeping more of what we earn so we can invest it in our family instead of watching it disappear each year. This is one of the biggest reasons that we're moving to Florida. Not because Florida's perfect, not because the US is perfect, but because when I compare the opportunities, the taxes, the cost of living, and what we want our future to actually look like, the math simply works better for our family in the United States. When I hear a Canadian professor go on Sean Hannity and tell him that he feels like he's working for the government until September, I know he's not the only Canadian feeling that way. We're a family of 5 moving from Canada to the United States, documenting the entire process as we live through it, as well as our reasons why. Follow along for more.
Who will you vote for in 2028?
Kamala. She'll fix this country.
JD Vance or Kamala Harris in 2028?
Wow.
I love Kamala.
Who would you vote for in 2028? We can't have a female president. JD Vance or Kamala Harris?
I'm Republican, so JD Vance.
JD Vance or Kamala Harris in 2028?
JD Vance, of course.
Who will you vote for in 2028? JD Vance or Kamala Harris?
She's not smart enough to be president.
Who will you vote for in 2028?
This is very good news.
I will vote for JD Vance. JD Vance or Kamala Harris in 2028?
Kamala.
Who will you vote for in 2028?
JD Vance.
Who will you vote for in 2028?
Maybe Kamala if she runs.
Who will you vote for in 2028?
I'm a Republican, and I'll vote for JD Vance for sure.
JD Vance or Kamala Harris? Who would you vote for in 2028?
I think JD Vance.